Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. Today we have another haul for you, as you can see. So I just posted my Yelp haul really recently. I'm not really 100% sure when this video will go up, but I just edited my Yelp haul a few days ago. It took me a really long time to edit that video and to film it, having come back from Yelp. But obviously Yelp was in July, so we're now at the end of August and some books have been purchased. And that's fine, it's really fine. All of these were on deals or discounts and they're all books I really wanted. I do need to go a bit on a book buying ban now because I can't read books this quickly and I've run out of bookshelf space. So I do need to slow down a little bit, but I thought that I would show you the books that I have purchased so far. So this is kind of my post-Yelp haul, I would say. So all of these books have been purchased in July and August. If you are new to my channel, just to say I am a relatively new booktube channel, so any likes, comments and subscribes go a huge way to supporting me. I also have a planning YouTube channel which I'll link down below if you want to check out my other hobby. Also, if you're new, just to let you know, I am predominantly a romance reader, so that's what over 90% of this stack is romance, I would say. I think 4 of the books are not romance, so gonna be a lot of romance. I do read some other genres as well, but I'm very much in a romance reading mood right now, so predominantly romance in this haul. Let's start with the non-romance because then, you know, they're out the way. So the first one is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. So I have had no interest in reading murder mystery. It's not my thing. I am not particularly fascinated in solving unsolved mysteries or anything like that. But I have been watching Only Murders in the Building on Disney Plus and I am obsessed with that show. I need more episodes immediately. I love it so much. And I've decided that if I love that show that much, then maybe I am interested in murder mysteries, but particularly cozy murder mysteries. I don't think I'm suddenly going to become really interested in true crime podcasts, though who knows? I can't say for sure. But I don't really want to read something that is going to make me sad or worried because I'm someone who's quite affected by the media that I consume, either positively or negatively. So I would rather start with something a little bit lighter. So I think cozy mysteries are the way to go because I would count Only Murders in the Building in that like cozy mystery category. So I thought that I would pick up Thursday Murder Club and it was in the works for £5. So I thought it was time. I had some credit to use at the works. I had like £1.50 credit. So I bought like £17 worth of books because that's how that works. So yeah, I thought I would pick this up. So you have probably heard of this and read it if you've been around booktube at all, but if you don't know, it's basically about 4 elderly friends who meet every week to solve unsolved murders or to try and solve them, and then they find themselves in their own murder and so they need to try and solve it, which is kind of exactly the plot of Only Murders in the Building, just not all of them are elderly. So I feel like this will probably be a good fit for me. I think it's a really good recommendation. I would think if you like that show, you would probably like this book. So I'm very interested to get into this. Next up, we have the only non-romance, non-murder mystery, which is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Talia Jenkins Reid. This has got to be one of the biggest books ever on BookTok and BookTube. The number of reviews that this has on Goodreads is kind of outstanding. So I have decided it is time for me to own a copy of this. I've been really interested in reading it ever since I started watching BookTube, but there was just a lot of other stuff to read. But again, this was in the works for £5, so I decided to pick it up. Again, you've probably read this, I'm really late to the game, but if you haven't, this is the story of Evelyn Hugo, who is telling her life story to a magazine reporter, and it's bringing to light the sort of scandals, etc. that she faced during her life, and then it seems like her life is going to cross over with the reporters in some way, and obviously she is going to be talking about her 7 husbands. I know this book is incredibly popular, it's loads of people's favourite book, so I think it's time that it is in my house so that I will read it at some point. Next up, we have a lovely author called Victoria Walters, and Victoria has a YouTube channel. So if you've not checked it out, I would really, really recommend it. I will link to it down below. Victoria is just such a lovely person. And I have read one of her books. It was the only book I read in 2021, which I have coming up in this stack. But again, I decided that picking up the cozy murders that she has would be a good option for me following my love of Only Murders in the Building. So there was a deal on Amazon for all of her, well, so it's basically her 4 Glendale Hall books, which are her romance series, and then her 2 murder mysteries in a set for like £16 or something like that. So I decided to pick them up because I really love to read some more of Victoria's books to bring awareness of them to my YouTube channel and to, you know, kind of add to the Goodreads reviews and stuff like that of her books. So yeah, I picked up her 2 murder mystery books. So the first one is Murder at the House on the Hill and the next one is Murder at the Summer Fete. And so it's basically about Nancy and Jane, and they run Deadly Endings bookshop, which it sells mystery novels, and then again they find themselves in the middle of their own murder mystery that they need to solve. So yeah, very similar to Thursday Murder Club, but with a unique twist in terms of running a mystery themed bookshop. So I'm really excited to get to these. I love Victoria's writing, and again I'm just really love to support her because she's so lovely. So very excited to read both of these. So following on with Victoria Walters, the other 4 books in this series, it's the Glendale Hall series, which is her romance series. So I have read this one at the bottom, which is Coming Home to Glendale Hall. Try not to drop them. Coming Home to Glendale Hall. And it's basically the story of Beth, who got pregnant young and was raised in, I would almost say, a kind of Gilmore Girls style household. She comes from a family of money and the house was really posh, and she has some kind of unresolved issues with her family, and she leaves with her daughter when she gets pregnant, and then she comes back to Glendale Hall because one of the family members is sick, and she meets her one true love again, Drew, and it's kind of figuring out whether they can be a thing and how that will work. So I loved this book when I read it. As I say, it was the only book I read in 2021, but I've been in a weird reading slump in my adult life, but I did really enjoy it, and I wanted to read the rest of the series. So the other books in the series are New Beginnings at Glendale Hall, Always and Forever at Glendale Hall, and Hopeful Hearts at Glendale Hall, which might not be in the right order because in the sort of set that they'd given from Amazon, these were in a really weird order. So, but I know that this is the first one because I've read it. But the way that Victoria writes her romances, which I think is quite typical of romances these days, is that they're not necessarily a series in that I don't think you would have to read them in order, but it does help to because they're going to feature characters that feature in the other books. So I'm just really excited to have these because I always wanted to, and I read Glendale Hall on my Kindle, and so it's really nice to have the physical copies, and I'm excited to get to these. So next up we have some more books that I got from the work. So they had a lot of like 3 for £5 deals and stuff like that, or 3 for £6. So one of the books I picked up was Summer at the Castle Cafe by Donna Ashcroft. I love this kind of cover on a book, and this is very typical of the sort of romance books I originally read before joining BookTube. I mean, my guess, I obviously haven't read it, but these romance books are like a little bit less steamy than the ones that are more popular now, but it really gives me Holly Martin vibes, and Holly Martin is one of my favourite authors. I've read most books by her, so when I was reading in kind of like 2016 to 2019, all I read was Holly Martin romance pretty much, so I have them all on my Kindle, but I absolutely love Holly Martin books, and I think this book really gives me the same vibes of that. I will need to check, because I just picked up on a whim, I didn't like check on Goodreads or anything, whether this was like part of a series, because like for example with Holly Martin, it's like with the Glendale Hall series, you don't necessarily have to read them in order, but they are connected in that characters cross over. So I will need to double check if this is the first book or not, and I'll probably end up buying more. But we follow the story of Alice and Jay, and Alice moves to Castle Cove and she takes up a job in a cafe and meeting quirky characters, and this is so the kind of romance that I like to read. And then Jay has lived in Castle Cove his whole life, and there was a tragedy that's really haunted his life, and he's trying to save loads of people's lives on the lifeboat, and then Alice comes into his life, turns it upside down, and it's kind of figuring out if they're going to have a happy ending. So this is absolutely my kind of romance book, so I'm excited to read this. Next up we have The Roommate by Rosie Danan, and I've not read any books by this author before, but again they were like in the deal at the works, and when I posted on Instagram my haul, a few people commented saying they really liked her books, so I think that's really great, so hopefully I will like it. This one is a forced proximity book, which is a trope that I think I like more than Enemies to Lovers, which is not my favourite. So this is Clara and Josh, and Clara is kind of encouraged to move across the country by her childhood crush, and it turns out to be too good to be true. She ends up in close proximity with Josh, but she looks him up on the internet and he has a reputation that she thinks will kind of ruin her, but they do both agree that women deserve better sex. And then it says what they decide to do about it will change both their lives, and if they're lucky they'll help everyone else get lucky too. So I imagine this is going to be a steamy romance. I'm excited to read this. I think it's going to be good. So that is The Roommate. I also got another book by Rosie Danan, which is The Intimacy Experiment, and a lot of people said that they really love this one, so super excited to get to it. I am gonna need to look up whether these are part of a series, because this one also is very focused around like sex and sex positivity, which kind of feels like the other one as well, so we'll look up to see if they're part of a series. But this one follows Naomi and Ethan. Naomi runs a sex positive startup, and it's about her kind of wanting to promote it further. She wants to do live lectures, but sort of doesn't have the credentials to be able to do that. And we get some Jewish rep here with Ethan. So he's one of the hottest bachelors and he's just become rabbi of his own synagogue, but he needs to generate some funds. And so Naomi and Ethan kind of cross paths to generate some buzz for the seminar series, but they end up kind of developing feelings for each other while that happens. So I think this is going to be great too. Really interested to read this. The next up we have, so I picked up The Heart Principle in the Works deal. And I've seen this book around a lot of places. I know it's part of the Quiz Quotient series by Helen Hoang, and I didn't pick it up because I knew it was the third one, but then I picked it up as part of the deal at the Works, so I was like, oh well, I may as well just pick it up. So I did pick up the second one on Amazon, which is The Bride Test. So I didn't love the Quiz Quotient. I gave it 3 stars, but I think the other two are really different. Like, having read the back, I do think that they are different stories, and it's not like I didn't enjoy it enough to keep reading. Though I was watching a video from a booktuber today who said that apparently this book's really sad and made them cry and is not really a romance, it's more just kind of contemporary fiction and the romance is just another part of it. And I was like, oh, that's not really the kind of book that I want to read. So it's probably going to be a while until I get to these because I'm just not sure it's the vibe of what I want to read right now. But they are part of a series in that the characters in these two do feature in the Kiss Quotient. So again, I doubt you have to read them, but you might want to read the Kiss Quotient first before reading these two just to get a background on the characters. So in terms of The Bride Test, so this is following Kai, who has autism, and he thinks that he is just not going to be able to reciprocate in a relationship the way that is kind of expected in society. So his mum gets him a bride from Vietnam who's really excited to move to America, but Kai just doesn't feel he can have a relationship with her, so it's those two kind of figuring that out. So that is The Bride Test. And then The Heart Principle. So yeah, reading the back of this, it does seem like it's going to be quite sad. So this is following Kwan. I think they're cousins, Kwan and Kai, of Michael, who's in the first book. But this is following Anna and Kwan. So Anna is a very successful violinist who has a viral YouTube video, and she's really struggling to live up to that. Her boyfriend decides to ask for an open relationship, and so she decides to embark on a kind of string of one-night stands. She tries to do that with Kwan and it fails several times because being with Kwan is about more than sex. It's not just a one-night stand. There's some tragedy that strikes her family. She has to take on a new role that will destroy her, and then Anna and Kwan have to kind of figure out whether their relationship is worth fighting for. Sounds very heavy duty. So yeah, I'm excited to have them, I think, but I will probably be prioritizing other books over these. But because I picked up The Heart Principle, I was like, I'm never going to get to it unless I own the second one, so it made sense to own the second one in order to eventually get there. Next up we have a series I am so excited for, which is the Brown Sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert. I am not convinced these are in the right order. It's possibly this way. I'm not 100% sure. I'm really sorry. I should have looked it up before this video, but I film on my phone, which means I can't look it up. But I'm really excited to have these because I know these are very, very well loved romance books, and I think that I would really enjoy them, so very excited to have them. I'm not going to read the blurbs of these just in case you're midway through this series and you haven't read the blurbs of the other ones, because I don't 100% know the order. So I won't read the blurbs, but I'm very excited to have these. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to drop a lot of the other stuff I was thinking to read in the hope of reading these because I just think I will really like them, so we'll see. But yeah, very excited to get to them. So next up we had You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. I have the second in this series. I'm not really sure if they are a series because reading the back, I'm not really sure how this would link into the second one. It might just be they're part of a series this author's writing, but I thought I would get this first one just in case they are part of a series, so I'll read this before I read the Ados book. But this, I love these covers. These are so stunning. And basically this one is following Jasmine and Ashton, who are both actors on telenovas, and both of their careers rely on them having some on-screen chemistry, which they're struggling to get, so they take it off-screen. It turns into a behind-the-scenes romance, and then it's them navigating that. So I love this idea. I've not read a romance with that sort of plot before, so I think this one will be really interesting, and this cover is so stunning. But yeah, I thought I would pick this one up. Even if they're not part of the series, I'll read this one before I read the second one, which I already own. Next up we have The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, and I haven't read any of Beth O'Leary's books yet, but I know that they are really popular in the booktube space, so I'm excited to own one. And this one is forced proximity trope. So we have Tiffy and Leon. Basically Leon and Tiffy occupy the flat at different times of day, so they share a flat but they don't ever really cross over, and even though they haven't met, it seems that it's going to be more complicated than expected. So I'm interested to see how this works, because I think this is a really interesting idea. It's a new way for the trope to be done. So very excited to own this, and I know this one is really popular. Next up we have The Impossible Princess by Kiera Dominguez, and gonna be honest, the reason that I wanted this book is because the cover is by Leni Kaufman. Leni Kaufman is my favorite book cover artist. Her art is so beautiful, and this is my favorite that she's done. I just think it's so gorgeous that I had to have it. I also think it kind of gives me vibes of like the Netflix movies, the ones that are what are they called? I can't think of their names, but it's like The Royal Princess and the Royal Baby and all that kind of stuff. I love movies like that. I love any kind of movies of like rom-coms set in palaces. So basically Clara is a royal, and she is trying to show her mum that she can be the perfect princess, but she has feelings for an unnamed military officer, and when they are caught together publicly, it's then them trying to figure out how they're going to balance that with it's distracting from Max's role in the military, but also Clara's role as a princess. So yeah, the main reason I picked this up is because of the cover. Also one of my friends, she put this on her Goodreads. So yeah, I love the cover. I had to have it. I think I paid a bit more for it because it probably had to be shipped here, but it's super gorgeous. I'm happy to have it. But we're nearly there. Just don't fall. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. So next up we have a book that maybe none of you have read or would be interested in reading, but this is Breakfast at Darcy's by Ali McNamara, and this is a book that I absolutely fell in love with when it first came out. I've read this book multiple times. It came out in like 2013 or 2011 or something like that, so it's not I'm not even sure that if Ali McNamara still writes, but this was one of my favorite romances ever, and I only ever had the ebook version, and suddenly I just thought the other day, oh, maybe I could get the physical copy, and it was there on Amazon, so I decided to pick it up. I really love this story. So it's the story of Darcy, whose aunt passes away. Sorry if you can hear that really loud aircraft outside, but Darcy's aunt passes away and leaves her a small island off the coast of Ireland called Tara, and it's up to Darcy to kind of renovate the island with the help of a group of people. And I didn't realise until, because it's been so long since I read this, when I read the back, it is actually a bit of a love triangle, which is really not my favourite trope, but I must have enjoyed it at the time. So maybe it was, I don't know if it would have been my favourite trope then. I was big into Twilight then, so maybe it was. But anyway, I really loved this at the time, so I'm very interested to be able to read it again. I did just realise that I didn't include my Fairyly or Illumicrate books in here, but I'm not going to, because I don't sort of know at what point people have had spoilers and not, so I'll maybe do a separate video for those. But I did just see another book that I forgot to mention, which is The Midnighters by Hana Tooke. I got this from Sainsbury's for like £7, and it is definitely normally more than this. It's normally 13, so it was a really good discount. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was JD Ray Reid's that I saw who posted about this book, and it's just gorgeous. That's like the main reason I wanted it. This book is so pretty. Like, I wish that we had had books like this when I was a child. I would have loved to have read this. So I'll read the synopsis because my brain is a bit fried. I've filmed a video for my planning channel today as well, so I'm pretty tired. So it says, find the courage to be extraordinary. Emma Vaskova has always felt different. In a family of famous scientists, there's not much room for superstition or omens, but they seem to follow Emma wherever she goes. It doesn't help that she appears to predict events before they happen and has a peculiar fear of shadows. When Emma is sent to stay with her eccentric uncle in Prague, she fears she'll lose the chance to ever fit in. But then she meets Sylvie, a girl who finally sees Emma for the extraordinary person she is. Soon the girls are meeting for secret midnight adventures and facing Emma's fears together. Until disaster strikes. Sylvie goes missing, and it's up to Emma to find her. Now she must gather the courage to hunt the city, find her friend, and uncover the secret of the one clue Sylvie left as to where she might be, inside the mysterious Midnight Guild. I love this. Also, it has a ginger cat, and I love ginger cats. So yeah, I'm so excited to get to this. I am going to, I think, add it. I'm going to be doing the Bookopathon like TBR game, which is by Becca and the Books, for September, and I think I'm going to have this as one of the chance cards in the hope that I get it, or I'll try and make a prompt work for it. But it's so gorgeous. I think that I would love to read this, and as it's a middle grade, it would be a quicker read. So yeah, I absolutely love this book. So I'm sorry I forgot to include it in the main part of this video. We've reached the end of this haul, which is probably a good thing because the stack of books is going to fall. But the last two books are Lore Olympus Vol. Volume 1 and Volume 2. I have resisted these for so long, but they're on so many people's book recommendation videos and people love them so much that we just reached a point where I couldn't resist anymore, so I've decided to pick them up. These are graphic novels. I absolutely love graphic novels. I blame Heartstopper for that, but in a good way. But I have read a lot of graphic novels this year. I haven't read any for the last couple of months, so I'm keen to get to some more, and I think Olympus will, because it's a romance graphic novel, fill the gap of being a romance, but also being a graphic novel, so a bit of a quicker read. So I'm very excited to have these. My boyfriend was like, why have you bought Volume 2? You don't even know if you like Volume 1. And I was like, everyone likes them both, so it's fine. Even though I know people prefer Volume 1 in the main. But this is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I think Hades is a businessman and is kind of figuring out his feelings for Persephone, and I'm pretty sure it's steamy from what I've heard, and I think that it is the kind of, there's various complications that come into play from these two having a relationship, so I'm excited to get to this. I want to try and find like an example of the artwork so I can show you what it's like without kind of doing any spoilers, but obviously without reading it I don't really know what is and isn't a spoiler. Ooh, okay, that's maybe a spoiler. I need to not spoil it for myself while looking for something. So this is not particularly helpful, is it? I mean, this is not Hades or Persephone, I don't think, but this gives you an idea of what the artwork is like. So I know that this is a very quick read. There's not a lot of words on the page, and the books are quite expensive. You can read this for free. It is a webtoon, so you can read it for free online, but I don't really like to read on the screen that much, so I thought I would get the physical copies, and I did get them on a discount because they are expensive. They're £20 each, so I got them on a discount, which meant that I was happy to buy both of them. So that is it for today's haul. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm really excited to get to all of these books. I don't know when, and there's no room for them on my shelves, but now at least I can start to move them to my shelves, so that's good. But yeah, I am really excited to get to them. If you did enjoy this video, as I said at the beginning, I am a really new booktube channel, even though I'm not new to YouTube, so any likes, comments and subscribes massively help my channel out. I am hoping to bring a little bit more regular book content to you, but we'll see. I'm not putting too much pressure on myself, but I am hoping to have a little bit more regular content, so I really hope you'll stick around for that. And also, if you did want to check out my planning YouTube channel in case you are also interested in that hobby, I will link that down below as well. I will also have links in the description to my Goodreads. I am very good at posting my reviews as soon as I finish a book on Goodreads, so if you do want to check that out, you can always keep up to date with what I'm reading on there. I also have an Instagram at peace.love.plan, which is linked between my book and planning content, though I also just post general life stuff on there, so do feel free to follow me over there as well. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Am I going to do all of these in a thumbnail?